Imagine this. You walk into a meeting absolutely certain you sent that report last week. You remember hitting send. You remember the relief. But now, your manager is looking at you like you have invented an entire memory out of thin air, and suddenly, you are the one apologizing, scrambling, wondering if your brain has started to betray you. That disorientation, that sickening feeling of your reality being gently erased, that is gaslighting. And at work, it does not come with a villain monologue. It comes with a smile, a raised eyebrow, a well-timed sigh that makes you feel like you're losing your grip on what is real. Gaslighting is not just lying. It is a systematic dismantling of your confidence, your memory, your sense of competence. It is psychological warfare dressed up as professionalism. The term comes from a 1944 film where a husband manipulates his wife into thinking she is going insane. But in the office, it looks different. It looks like your boss telling you that you are being too sensitive. It looks like a coworker insisting a conversation never happened. It looks like you doubting whether you even deserve to be in the room. And the worst part is that it works slowly like carbon monoxide. By the time you realize something is wrong, you have already been breathing it in for months. The trick is that workplace gaslighting hides inside normal workplace friction. Everyone has bad days. Everyone miscommunicates. But gaslighting is different because it is consistent, targeted, and designed to make you feel like the problem is not them, it is you. It makes you the unreliable narrator of your own career. So here are the subtle signs, the ones that do not scream abuse, but whisper it, the ones that make you feel crazy until you realize the crazy making is the point. You start to question your memory constantly, even about things you know happen. This is the core mechanic of gaslighting. Someone at work tells you something, gives you an instruction, makes a promise, and then later denies it ever occurred. Not in a whoops I forgot kind of way, but in a you are genuinely mistaken kind of way. They look at you with confusion, maybe even concern, as if you have fabricated the entire exchange. And because humans are wired to trust patterns, especially from authority figures, you start to second guess yourself. Did I misunderstand? Did I mishear? Am I remembering this wrong? You begin keeping obsessive records, screenshotting emails, taking notes during conversations, not because you are paranoid, but because your reality has become something you need to defend. This is not normal workplace disorganization. This is someone teaching your brain that it cannot trust itself. And once that seed is planted, it grows. You stop speaking up in meetings because what if you were wrong again? You stop pitching ideas because what if you misread the situation? Your confidence becomes a house built on sand, and every denied conversation is another wave pulling the foundation away. They deny things that are documented, then make you feel ridiculous for bringing up proof. This one is particularly insidious because it breaks the basic contract of reality. You have the email, you have the message, you have the meeting notes. You present them, thinking this will settle it, and instead of acknowledgement, you get dismissal. Oh, you're really going to pull up old emails? You are being weirdly literal about this. I think you are misinterpreting the tone. They do not deny the document exists. They deny that it means what it clearly means. They reframe your evidence as you being petty, obsessive, unable to let things go. And now, you are not just wrong. You are difficult. You are the person who cannot move on, who makes everything a big deal, who needs everything in writing like some kind of bureaucratic robot. The goal here is not to win the argument. The goal is to make you stop bringing proof. Because once you stop defending yourself with facts, they can rewrite anything. Your accomplishments become theirs. Your mistakes become bigger. Your contributions disappear. And you learn slowly that even when you are right, it does not matter. Because the game is rigged. Your feelings and reactions are constantly labeled as overreactions. You bring up a concern, a legitimate boundary, a moment where you felt disrespected, and the response is always some version of you are being too sensitive. You are overreacting. I think you are taking this too personally. It is not that big of a deal. This is the emotional mute button. It does not matter what you felt, because your feelings are being pre-categorized as invalid. And here is the trick. Sometimes, maybe, you are being sensitive. But gaslighters do not care about the times you are right. They care about training you to distrust your emotional responses entirely. So you stop saying when something bothers you. You stop drawing boundaries, because every boundary you set gets reframed as you being difficult, dramatic, unable to handle the real world. You become smaller, quieter, more willing to endure things that hurt because you have been taught that your hurt is not reasonable. Meanwhile, their behavior continues unchecked. Because who is going to call it out? Not you. You have already been convinced that your radar is broken. They praise you publicly, but undermine you privately in ways that are hard to prove. This is the corporate magician trick. In meetings, in emails, in front of leadership, they sing your praises. You are doing great. We are so lucky to have you. But in the one-on-ones, in the small moments, in the whispered asides, you hear a different story. I am a little worried about your performance. People have been asking questions. I am not sure you are ready for that promotion. There is no documentation. There is no formal review. Just a steady drip of doubt, delivered with concern, as if they are doing you a favor by letting you know. And because the public praise exists, you cannot call it out. If you say I feel like I am being undermined, they point to the praise. What are you talking about? I just told everyone you are doing amazing. Are you okay? Now, you look paranoid, ungrateful, impossible to please. But you know what you heard. You know the way your stomach drops every time they pull you aside. You know the gap between what they say in front of others and what they say to you. That gap is the trap, and you are living in it. They change the rules or expectations without telling you, then blame you for not following them. You complete a project the way you were told. You follow the process. You meet the deadline. And then you are told, calmly, with a hint of disappointment, that you did it wrong. But I did exactly what you asked. Well, I assumed you would know to do it this other way. Or thought it was obvious we needed it in a different format. The rules were never actually communicated, but you are being held responsible for not reading their mind. This is goalpost engineering. Every time you get close to success, the target moves. And because it moves invisibly, you look like you are failing when really, you are being set up. Over time, this creates a constant state of hypervigilance. You are always trying to anticipate the unspoken rule, the invisible standard, the expectation that will only be revealed after you have already missed it. You become anxious, exhausted, unable to relax into your competence because competence has become a moving target. And that is the point. If you are always off balance, you are always controllable. They isolate you by subtly turning others against you or making you seem unreliable. Gaslighting rarely happens in a vacuum. It requires an audience. So the gaslighter starts planting seeds. Little comments to coworkers. I am worried about them. They seem really stressed. I do not know if they are handling things well. They have been making some mistakes. None of it is loud. None of it is obvious. But over time, people start to see you differently. They stop including you. They stop trusting your input. They check your work a little more carefully. And you do not know why. You cannot point to a moment. You cannot find the source. You just know that something has shifted, that people look at you with a little more hesitation, that you have gone from competent to questionable without understanding what changed. And when you try to defend yourself, when you try to say, someone is sabotaging me, it sounds paranoid. It sounds like you are deflecting, because the gaslighter has already framed you as the unstable one. They have built the narrative. You are just living in it. You feel the need to apologize constantly, even when you did nothing wrong. This one creeps in quietly. You start saying sorry for everything. Sorry for asking a question. Sorry for needing clarification. Sorry for having a different opinion. Sorry for taking up space. It becomes a reflex, a shield, a way to preemptively soften any potential conflict. And you do not even notice you are doing it until someone outside the situation points it out. Why do you apologize so much? And you realize you do not know, but deep down, you do know. You have been trained. Every time you assert yourself, every time you push back, every time you exist a little too loudly, there has been a consequence, a sigh, a look, a comment about your tone, and your brain, trying to protect you, has learned to apologize first. to make yourself smaller before anyone can make you feel small. This is what gaslighting does. It does not just change how others see you. It changes how you see yourself. You become someone who apologizes for existing, and that apology becomes the proof that you were the problem all along. They rewrite history to make themselves the hero and you the obstacle. You worked late. You fixed the crisis. You saved the project. But when the story gets told, the details shift. They stepped in to help when things got messy. They had to course correct. They managed to salvage it despite some challenges. You are erased, or worse, you are reframed as the reason intervention was needed. And because memory is social, because we build the past through shared narratives, the story they tell starts to become the story everyone remembers. Even you start to doubt your own role. Maybe I did need that much help. Maybe it was not as good as I thought. This is narrative theft. They are stealing your wins and replacing them with the version where you are lucky they were there. And once that becomes the accepted story, your value drops. Your leverage disappears. You become someone who needs to be managed, someone who cannot be trusted with responsibility, someone whose contributions are footnotes in someone else's success story. They make you feel like you are the only one with a problem, isolating your perspective. When you try to talk about what is happening, they respond with, "No one else feels this way. Everyone else seems fine. Maybe this is a you problem." And because you do not have access to everyone else's inner experience, you start to believe it. You start to think, maybe I am too sensitive, too difficult, too broken. But here is the thing. Gaslighters are very good at making sure everyone feels alone. They do not gaslight the whole team at once. They do it one person at a time, in private, so no one compares notes. And if someone else does bring up an issue, the gaslighter makes sure you do not hear about it. So you remain isolated, convinced that your experience is singular, that the problem is not the environment, it is you. This isolation is strategic, because the moment you realize other people have noticed the same patterns, the moment you compare experiences and see the overlaps, the gaslighting loses its power. So they keep you separate. They keep you doubting. They keep you thinking you are alone in seeing what you see. Your physical and mental health starts to decline in ways tied directly to work. You cannot sleep. Your stomach is a knot. You dread Monday. You feel foggy, anxious, unable to concentrate. You start to wonder if you are depressed, if you need medication, if something is broken inside you. And maybe you do need support. But what often gets missed is that your body is responding to an environment that is psychologically unsafe. You are not broken. You are reacting to being gaslit. Your nervous system is stuck in fight or flight because your reality is under constant attack. Your brain is exhausted because it is spending all its energy trying to track inconsistencies, defend your memory, and manage the emotional labor of pretending everything is fine. This is not burnout from hard work. This is burnout from living in a reality distortion field. And until you name it, until you recognize that your symptoms are not random, but are responses to a specific kind of harm, you will keep thinking the problem is you. You will keep trying to fix yourself, when what needs to change is the environment. So what do you do when you realize you are being gaslit at work? First, you stop questioning whether it is real. Gaslighting makes you doubt your perception. So the act of naming it, of saying out loud, "This is what is happening to me," is the first break in the pattern. Second, you document everything. Not because you are paranoid, but because gaslighting relies on your memory being unreliable. Emails, meeting notes, timestamps, witnesses. Build a paper trail that cannot be denied. Third, you find people outside the situation who can reality check your experience. A friend, a therapist, a mentor, someone who is not inside the distortion field and can say, "No, that is not normal. That is not okay." Fourth, you set boundaries, even small ones, and notice what happens. Gaslighters hate boundaries because boundaries require them to acknowledge your reality. If they escalate, if they punish you for setting limits, that tells you everything. And fifth, you consider your exit. Because sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is leave. Not because you failed, but because staying in a place that erases you is not strength. It is self-destruction. Gaslighting at work is not about big, dramatic blow-ups. It is about 1,000 tiny cuts that make you forget you are bleeding. It is about someone convincing you that your competence, your memory, your reality, your worth are all up for debate. And the cruelest part is that it works best on people who are conscientious, who care about doing well, who want to believe the best in others. It works on people who think if I just try harder, if I just communicate better, if I just prove myself, things will get better. But they will not. Because the problem was never your effort. It was always their need to control the narrative. You are not imagining it. You are not too sensitive. You are not broken. You are being psychologically manipulated, and the fact that it is happening in a conference room instead of a relationship does not make it less real. Workplaces can be toxic. Bosses can be abusive. Colleagues can be cruel. And you do not owe your sanity to a paycheck. You do not owe your mental health to a company that treats your reality like it is negotiable. The job market is hard. Leaving is scary. But so is staying in a place that teaches you not to trust yourself. The goal of gaslighting is to make you small, uncertain, manageable. The goal of recognizing it is to take your reality back. To say, I know what I experienced. I know what I heard. I know what I am worth. And no amount of rewriting, denying, or undermining will change that. Because once you see the pattern, once you name the game, you stop playing by their rules. And that is when you get your power back. Not because the gaslighting stops, but because you stop letting it define you. You deserve to work in a place where your reality is respected, where your memory is trusted, where your contributions are acknowledged, where you do not have to defend your sanity just to make it through the week. And if that place does not exist where you are, then the bravest thing you can do is build it somewhere else. Because you are not the problem. You never were. And the moment you truly believe that is the moment everything starts to change.